I'm Miriam Joy and welcome to my studio. Today I'm going to teach you how to make this really fun Easter Bunny wreath, and almost all of the products I used are from the dollar store or cost 99 cents or less. So let's get started. Like I said, almost all of the items I picked up at the Dollar Tree, and they now have tulle, and this is 6-inch tulle, 5 yards. So we're actually going to use 10 yards of each of the colors, so 2 of those a piece. And if you can't find an item at Dollar Tree, you can order it in as long as you buy a case. And the case in this one would be 4 of each color and white. And the number for your record would be 639-277-070869. So you can order that in even if they don't have it, and that way you have can find what you want. I also picked up the pipe cleaners there because they had all the colors, spring colors that my tool was. The only thing I did pick up somewhere else was a table decoration, and I picked that up at Walmart, and that was for 98 cents because I really liked the rabbit and I thought that was really cute. And I also picked my pool noodle up at Walmart, and we're going to use that to make our wreath. And I'm going to take about a foot off of this today, and I'm going to do it with a serrated knife, like a bread knife. I'm just going to cut that right off. If you ever have to cut plastic or anything, that works really, really well to go through that. We're going to see if I can do this with one hand or if I'll have to get my camera guy in. I'm just going to tape it. You could use duct tape. I'm going to use painter's tape because that's what I had and it seemed to work just fine. And you know, I always tell you to use what you have. And works better if you have 2 people here helping you. Alright, I went ahead and taped it twice, and I really thought the green would go with the grass, but if I did it again I would probably pick up one of the purple, pink, or blue colors instead. The first time I painted this green to match it, but it's not going to really show anyway, so don't worry about the time you get the grass on and everything. It's not worth the hassle. So we've got that all ready to go, and the next thing we're going to do is we're going to cut our links on our tool. And we want 7 pieces, and I cut these at an angle, and I'm going to measure them 22 inches. So again, I'm measuring that from the top, 22 inches, and then cutting that at an angle to the left. So when you start this one out, it will have the angle here, and we're going to start with that short spot and go 22 inches that. So we're going to do 7 of those on each color. Once you've finished all of the outside pieces, we're going to come in and we're going to cut the middle-sized pieces. I want to show you a trick that I use when I'm cutting smaller pieces like this. I'm just going to put this on my paper cutter, and I'm going to do 8-inch pieces, and I need at least 12 of these. We may need a little bit more. We're not using every color with each one, and you could if you wanted to. There's nothing wrong with putting 3 instead of just the 2, but I didn't quite have enough tool because I was using my tool for other projects as well. But you can see with the paper cutter, it's really easy to measure. You lay it right here, you just pull it out and you cut it, and you don't have to worry about getting your scissors in there and everything. So that's just a little trick that I learned. So go ahead and cut all of your little pieces as well, and start out with 12 of each of those, and then we get that done, we're going to start putting it together. go ahead and take your chenille pieces, cut them into 4 pieces on each stem for each color. Do 2 of those. We'll start with that. Now then I'm going to take my tool and we're going to just wrap it. I'm going to leave this part down at the bottom because I'm going to cover that up with eggs and the rabbit and everything really good. But it doesn't matter where you start. And what I did is I went ahead. Now I'm going to show you a couple of ways we can do this. If you're having a little bit of a hard time, you can wrap this by itself. And then I just took the ends in. If you're coordinated enough and you want to go ahead and put the curls at the same time, since we use pink, we're now going to use a purple one and a blue one. And just roll these up. Try to tuck the ends in and keep them as straight as possible. And try and have them meet on the inside so you have 2 little loop-de-loos. So I've got a purple one. And I've got a blue one here. And try and get that end tucked in. And then if you can hold them and tie this all in one, then do that. If you can't, don't worry about it. Just tie these. The only thing it's going to cost you is just a little bit more chenille or pipe cleaners, and that's okay. And then we're going to hook them just like that. Now that we've got that one, we're going to go ahead and do the one next to it. Ever worked with tulle, you know, if it gets tangled in each other, it's kind of a pain. So try to keep it out of the other one as much as possible. We're going to gather it, and you're going to bring it up next to the other one. And you really shouldn't see much of the green through those at all. So we've got that gathered there. Now I'm going to try and tie this all in one thing here. So this time I want a blue and a pink. So we're going to roll this up. And if you didn't have enough to do the 8 inches, you could cut these down to 6 and it would be okay. So I'm going to bring this all together, lay that there. It's just easier to do it in 2 pieces than trying to get this all together, I think. It can be done, but it's going to be a little bit harder to do. So I like doing it singly, I believe. Because you want this kind of tight. You want that about 2.5 inches apart. Kind of right up next to there. Don't forget, we're going to put grass and different things in there, so it's okay. So we're going to go on to our blue one. And I'm just going to put this on one at a time. I'm not going to try to get it tied in all at one time. I think that's just much harder. So I've got that wrapped first. And you can see the reason we cut a foot out of this wreath is because it kind of got real big there. If you wanted a real big one, you could leave it. Of course, you're going to need more tulle. So you'd have to add more tulle to it. And on this one, we're going to do a pink and a purple. And you could even roll these up, sit down and roll these up first, and then be ready to go. However you want to assemble it, that is up to you. It is okay. You decide how you want to do that. Put those on. And wrap them around that. And those need almost just a little bit more. So maybe on those you could cut a pipe cleaner into 3s instead of 4s. I'm just twisting it into the other pipe cleaner as we're going. So I'm going to go ahead and continue all the way around. I'm going to try to have just enough. Like I said, I get 7 of each color all the way around. And once we get that, we're going to work on the next part. I've gone all the way around, and you can see how it kind of overlaps. And if you need to slide it a little bit, that's fine. You can see we can still see the green a little bit, but we're going to put our grass on there, so that's okay. My blue tape is down here, and I'm going to go ahead and make a hanger for it. And I think I'm going to double this guy. Just going to use a pipe cleaner to do it with. And I'm going to just wrap it around from one side of the little things that I tied off to the other side where you have a loop. And just tie that off. And then you have your little hanger to hold that up on. Alright, so we've got that nice and secure. And then we're going to go ahead and put our grass on. And we're going to use our glue gun. And on the glue gun pad, this is a silicone sheet. And you find this in the cooking section. And it keeps the glue from sticking to anything. And by buying it in the cooking section, it's a lot cheaper that way, and also you get a bigger one. So that's a little helpful hint there. I'm just going to use my Easter grass, and it doesn't take a lot of grass. You can spread it out, but on the glue gun, you need to have a low temp setting because everything we're doing can melt. So it's kind of important to remember that, because we'll melt our mesh, because that's the polyester, as well as our wreath itself. So we're just going to come in on that low temp setting, and we're going to put all of that grass around. And you know what? First we need to put on our bunny. We got to get our bunny on here. So we're going to make sure our bunny fits. Make sure you have that hanger up on top, right up on top there. And our bunny needs to fit from top to bottom. So we want to make sure that we have him secure. So we're going to, wherever he touches that wreath, we're going to put glue there and put him on. And hold him for just a second. Now we're going to go ahead and put our grass on, and you can anchor him just a little bit more with the glue around the edges if you want to. And we're going to take this glue and go back and forth. You don't want to get too far ahead with the low temp glue gun because it cools faster, because it is not as hot. And like I said, the grass doesn't take a lot of grass. You can kind of spread it out. And a little bit of a bag, half of a bag, should be more than plenty. Try to keep it out of your wreath as much as possible. If you want to take it down on the sides a little bit, you can as well. Try to keep it away from your bunny, so you don't cover up him. You don't want it too fluffy. And pull your little curlicues out away from that. And we're going to go all the way around, and then we'll start putting some Easter eggs in there. I've glued the grass all the way around, and I even flipped them over and glued a little bit just on this first part here. I didn't do it where the grass was because it didn't really show, just to make it a little bit more fluffy, and that's behind the rabbit, so the grass is not on top of the rabbit. If you need to trim any of that grass, you can. Now I have this other little grass piece, and I decided that I really liked, we'll make sure you can see that here, this kind of set in right there to give it a more dimensional look in the grass, and then we're going to stick some flowers up through that as well. So I'm going to go ahead and glue that guy on, and put him right there. So he's not flat, he's kind of, that piece is kind of sticking out. And if you have any pieces that are kind of like this one right here, where you've got some of the wreath showing through, that's okay, because we're going to put an egg right there. So if you don't get the grass all the way on some of those, we're going to cover it up with the eggs, and that is all right. I found my little Easter eggs this year. I had a hard time finding them. The bigger stores didn't have them, but I found them at the Dollar Tree. So they're the smaller little eggs, and you could use the bigger eggs. That's up to you if you thought the bigger eggs would be better. Make sure they are secured nice and tight, and when I go to put the glue on, I'm going to make sure I put the glue on both sides so that they don't pop open. And we're just going to glue those throughout our Easter wreath here, and try to get those glued down, not just on the grass, but also onto the wreath itself to make them more stable. Because if you glue it on the top of the grass and not all the way down, then they'll kind of bounce and they can fall because they're not real stable. And just hold them there for a minute while that glue dries nice and good. And however you want to put them on, you can put them on even, you can put them uneven, wherever you think they go. Just use your own opinion on that and make that yours. So I'm just going to go ahead and finish gluing on all my Easter eggs, and then we'll talk about throwing some other things in there. So I put my eggs all around, and I put a little bit more down on the bottom, kind of like they would be scattered in the grass. And I found these cute little flowers. You could do whatever kind of flowers you wanted. I did, again, pick these up at the Dollar Tree. They're kind of a little glitter flower, and I'm going to put a rhinestone in the middle of them just to give them an extra little sparkle. I'm going to do 3 flowers on one side and 1 on the other side. That keeps them odd numbered. You always want to keep them odd numbered to be more pleasing to the eye. Nature's always odd. I guess that's why odd people are artists. That would explain a lot. Alright, now we've got those there. And this is the last thing. Isn't this getting really fun here? So I'm going to kind of stick it up between the grass, in between the 2 pieces that I kind of did. And I'm just going to do 1 on this side, and just a little bit where you can kind of poke it down. Just make sure it can kind of fits well in there. And we're going to glue it in, but we're going to try and poke it in a little bit as well. But you don't want it covering any of the rabbit up or anything else like that. So we've got that guy there. So put some glue on him now. And stick him in there. And we're going to go over to the other side. We want the one to be a little bit higher now. And then we'll have 2 smaller. And kind of figure out where I had them at the end of the hand there, between the hand and the... And I'm not sticking them into the wreath itself. They're kind of sticking on top and between the other grass pieces. If you get it into the wreath, that's fine too. There's no right or wrong on that. And now we want these guys a little bit shorter here. And so we're going to stick those two underneath there. And they can be over that rabbit just a little bit, but not so much that you take anything away from it. And I'm kind of looking at the grass up on top, and I probably should trim that down with the scissors just so you can see the rabbit ears a little bit better. You don't want to take away from that. So, alright, so we've got that nice and cute. And I think it just really adds spring to it, but like I said, you could add any type of little things you want to in there. And I was talking about just coming back, and you could either glue it up, or if you can't glue that up, just come in and trim around his ears a little bit, just so you see that. You want to make sure that none of that grass is on the rabbit. Just tuck it around behind or anything like that. But that is our little Easter bunny wreath, and I love the bright spring colors and the fullness, and by the time you get done you have a pretty good sized wreath, so that is a lot of fun. So I hope you enjoyed our project. Come on over to Facebook at Miriam Joy's Waxy Crafty Corner, where we put up these fun projects that we're working on with you, and also put up new videos as they come out. You always can give us a thumbs up on our YouTube so that we know that you liked it, and be a subscriber so you get all the latest ones coming out. Have a blessed Easter.